If I start to turn, promise you'll shoot. I don't want to be one of those fucking things. I got your back, man. Don't worry.
You guys think we're gonna make it out of this at all?
I was never a fan of original Doom series. By the time I got around to it, there were far better first-person shooters like Half-Life and Quake 2. They were highly moddable and state-of-the-art, putting my newly bought Voodoo 2 card to the test. Doom during this time did not have great many mods. Usually all of them were just reskins of the original game, often without any custom levels. Or with levels generated by a map generator that creators of the VAT claimed it as their own. Not to mention that original Doom 1 and Doom 2 games had obsolete gameplay that restricted players' aim and movement. And personally, I did not like abstract level design of the game as well. However, that started to change when John Carmack decided to release source code to the public in 1999. From then on out, work has begun to modernize original game and improve modability. This would take years through dozens of Doom source ports. Most popular of these source ports now being Zandrum and GZ Doom. I would miss on all of that slow progress, and a decade after, rediscover a game that has progressed from original tenfold into something that was now competitive with modern shooters. Since then, I have played more Doom mods than I did retail first-person shooters from big studios, because of how awful this genre of games became when it shifted to meet needs of console gamers. When I first tried out beta builds of Brutal Doom, I did not think much of it, as by that time I was used to hard-hitting mods that have raised the bars, like Winter's Fury mod. However, years later, when Legendary version 20B came out, it blew my mind. It was a whole package. New maps, new weapons, new graphical effects, new music, new enemy behavior and attacks, even new bosses. Trailer alone, my goodness. It was to the point and exactly what you will experience playing this game. I wish big budget games would stop pushing their secret story trailers and instead focus it on trailers that show actual gameplay. Now for the best part. Map pack Hell on Earth is its biggest selling point. Brutal Doom Maker put a lot of effort into these maps. Game has a natural flow from installation on Mars into cities on Earth and finally Hell. A lot of city maps are recycled from his less popular mod Extermination Day, which in my opinion are the best maps. Author was obviously inspired by Duke Nukem's school of level design, even paying homage by including Ally Holocaust with destructible walls, not so easy to program into Doom engine. You can even find a remake of staging area in this map pack. This mod overhauls graphics of the game to the point where Brutal Doom becomes a benchmarking tool. Yeah, you heard it right. This game with slaughter maps featuring a lot of enemies, resulting in juice spill and flying body parts, will push even the strongest PC machines to the test. In these moments, it is not uncommon to go from 1000 FPS to below 30 FPS. I was just amazed that the game just keeps on running during these moments without crashing. Another impressive feat in graphics department is that you can tweak it extensively to improve performance. I can run this free game at stable 60 FPS on oldest working laptop I have. While Darkest Dungeons 2D side-scrolling retail game that sold millions of units stutters while playing, with no way to lower your settings. For reference, I can run League of Legends on this ancient Pentium laptop with GT 610M at stable 30 FPS. I was never a fan of executions, mostly because I was introduced to them in Alien vs Predator 2010, where it was mandatory long sequence that often got you killed in multiplayer when you played as Xenomorph, sapping much of the fun from the game. However, in here it is purely optional. They serve for players' amusement. Though you can get 10 HP per execution, do not expect to win a fist fight with anything else than a Pinky Demon. On the other note though, charge kick attack is my favorite. Aiming down sights on the other hand is a different story. You kinda have to do that to conserve ammo, as you will most likely overspend on dying enemies when you are curving up groups of enemies. Actually, the system made me use regular shotgun over double barrel, as it was far more accurate. And just like in classical Doom games, shotgun is the weapon you will be using the most, due to ammo abundance. This mod has two gimmicky movements alien to other first-person shooters. One part of the game that had frustrated me the most were minor jumping sections. This was only due to not being familiarized by game with jump kick movement. When I first played the game, you really need to know this in order to finish that streets level. Bosses are either insanely hard or insanely easy. Let me explain. All of this comes down to the new row movement. I mean, look at this. You can just bounce all over the room at max speed, and unless you get stuck in the wall or obstacle, you are near invincible, easily dodging their nukes. Without it, I do not know if final boss is even possible to beat. Personally, I do not like it, but I can live with it. Guns are now punchier and do more damage to everything across the board, except maybe Barons of Hell. Those guys can take up a beating. Though, there are some exceptions, like BFG that is weaker than an original game, and a new Revron rocket launcher that is just not worth it. Flamethrower, on the other hand, is a riot. It can obliterate groups of enemies, and you can use its secondary to flush out entrenched enemies. If you do not like the new setup of weapons, you can play with classic weapons in classic mode. Same with the new attacks on enemies, you can simply turn them off in options. It is just awesome mod, you should play.